Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pitch Pod. I'm your host, Jeff Stebbins. With me, as always, my co-host, Joe Janner, aka Joey Chill. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, Jeff. As always, glad to be here. Looking forward to recapping last week's match and looking forward to us venturing to new territories in this episode. So, yes, thanks for having me. Always glad to be here. Hope you're doing well for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, so speaking of last week, that was an interesting matchup between Arsenal versus Newcastle. Two of the top teams in the Premier League going at it head-to-head. We previously mentioned that Arsenal had a couple key players out, but yeah, it ended up being a draw, 0-0. I actually predicted a draw of 1-1, so not quite on. But what were your takeaways from that game, Joe?
Really a well-contested match in the sense that, like we talked about, even we knew going into this that Newcastle defense would present a problem for Arsenal. And sure enough, throughout the course of the game, even with Arsenal being in possession a majority of the time, and even with them seemingly maybe the better side or having more chances, just didn't do what they need to do at the end of the day to score the goal. And Newcastle, then I think with that result, 0-0 draw, where they're at in the standings and where they're at in the season is probably better for them, with Arsenal just getting the 1 point. I mean, the share of the points there and Arsenal having now the pressure on them being in first place. I think the fact that it ended up being a 0-0 draw is indicative of where they are. I think it's them at the top. Arsenal still, yes, but you have a Newcastle side that's legit as far as being a side that is going to be competitive, and they're going to make it difficult for other attacking teams to score and to go on the road and get a draw again, get the point. Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's kind of a not a win in the technical sense, but for Newcastle to get that draw, good for them against a great Arsenal team. So definitely hats off to them. Their defense was what kept them in the game. If you look at the stats, Arsenal did possess the ball the majority of the game, had many more shots on goal, but they just didn't convert. And at the end of the day, you have to be able to do that. The one play I mentioned to you in the pre-show that maybe I'm a little too critical here, but I thought that the chance that Newcastle had in the game to score came off of Arsenal's keep, making a mistake in the box. The ball got played to him, and instead of clearing it out under pressure, one touch, he was kind of slow with it and ended up getting stolen away. No goals came out of that, but I kind of feel like it easily could have led to that. What was your take on that play?
I think it's a reminder to everybody how much of this game is mental, in a sense that you shut yourself off for a moment, you make a decision and or take too much time to make that decision and execute. Things can get turned around really quickly. And as the goalkeeper position, especially in possession, whether at feet or looking to distribute quickly, making the wrong decision often does end up in chances for the opposition. So I think it happens. It wouldn't be the end all be all, but had they scored, there'd be a lot more conversation about those types of mistakes there in the game.
Yeah, great point. Yeah. So at the Pitch Pod here, Joe and I decided we're not just only focusing on the Premier League. It is our main focus when we're not in the World Cup season. However, there's a big match happening this upcoming week with two top teams of La Liga. We have Atletico Madrid, number 4 in the league. Solid team going against Barcelona, which is the number 1 team in the league. Barcelona, of course, is missing out on their star player, Lewandowski. But without him, they're still a really solid team. And so that's the match that we're going to be previewing for this week is Atletico Madrid versus Barcelona. I think this is going to be a fun one. And I'm kind of excited to get into La Liga and to talk about a new league for a little while. I think that's kind of a fun change. So, Joe, what are your initial thoughts as we preview this match?
Probably, as you suggested, the headline is Barcelona minus Lewandowski in this one, a 3-game suspension starting with this upcoming match. They have to go away. They have to be at Atletico in Madrid. They're at the top. Again, similar to what we talked about before in other leagues, whenever you're at the top, you got people looking after you, wanting to do what they need to do. Atletico Madrid, 4th place, still eligible for Champions League play. They have all to play for. I mean, even with 11 points separating them, I think they have to go in there wanting to win, and they're going to have to bring a performance to match that desire to get that result. So I think you suggested it's going to be a great contest. And I think a lot of eyes are going to be on this match, not only to see what Barcelona does without their leading goal scorer, what I have down here, 13 goals and 15 appearances. That's significant. And to take that away at any level, when you have a system set up to play where you have a majority goal scorer on a squad, it's going to have an effect. Yes, Barcelona, strong attacking team. They will find a way to give Atletico a hard time. But guess what? Just the same way, Atletico will make it difficult. I think that's going to be primarily what their objective is: make it difficult, create chances when they can, and hopefully they do what they need to do to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that, yes, Lewandowski is a big goal scorer, but I think another part of his game that's so important is he's also one of the leading assist givers on the team. So I think they're really going to miss out on having him, although they do have some good guys to replace him up top in that 9 position. Memphis stands out to me as the correct choice for the manager. He has experience up top. He's a proven goal scorer. So that's who I would go with if I was Barcelona's manager. Again, replacing Lewandowski with Memphis is probably what I would do. But strategically, Joe, if you're Barcelona going into Madrid, you know, what are you looking at, and what's your game plan if you're managing that team?
I think you don't change too much of what you do well, and that is you're going to be a side that can possess the ball. You're going to be a team that can, through persistent possession and creating chances, and they're going to do what they need to do to make it difficult for Atletico to have the ball. So I think they'll go in there even on the road, possess with a strong attacking style to make sure that they control the tempo, control the game through possession.
Yeah, and there's great players on both teams. I think several players from both teams have the ability to score. So I think it's going to be a fun game. I do think that we'll see both sides scoring in this match. I do think it'll be well contested the whole match. So I can't wait to see it. I'm super excited for it. Joe, any additional thoughts before we head into our predictions?
Sure. The one last bit I think it's worth considering is the eyes and ears of the world looking to see what João Felix and his outcome, whether it's going to be a loan out of there. There's rumors that he could be finding himself on a English Premier League side within this January transfer. So whether that news is occurring and happening, probably talks are in place right now with several different clubs to see that it happen. So manager's got to make a tough decision. I know he's spoken out and said, as long as he's a part of this team, he's going to play. So we'll probably see him feature. We'll see him start again, given that nothing happens along the transfer lines and him moving out. So I think that's something to keep an eye out for. But aside from that, again, like you suggested, I think both teams score goals in this game. Where it's going to be an exciting match. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my prediction for this week, and as Joe said, I mean, I think this game could easily go either way, especially with Lewandowski not able to play. The fact that it's at Madrid also, changes things a bit. But I personally think Barcelona is at the top of the league for a reason. They have multiple guys that can put the ball in the back of the net. So I'm going to stick with Barcelona. I think they're going to win this one. I don't think it's a clean shutout by any means. I think it's going to be a really messy game, and I think it could go one way or the other pretty easily. But I'm gonna say Barcelona edges out Atletico Madrid. I'm gonna say they just barely edge them out, and I'm gonna give them the advantage. I'm gonna say Barcelona wins this 2-1.
Well, Jeff, I'm exactly the opposite. Have to look at Atletico doing what they need to do. I don't want to say again, you can't say that one side needs to win more than the other in a sense, but I think that Atletico will come out from the get-go, at a pace, at a means to go about doing what they need to do to win this one. And I see them winning it, and then necessarily having to do it by scoring a couple goals to one. So I got, again, the reverse of your prediction: Atletico Madrid winning 2-1 over Barcelona.
Okay, interesting, very interesting. Well, Joe, thanks to all our viewers out there. We are now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want to just listen to the audio, please feel free to check those out. It's going to be linked from our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe if you like our content. Tell your friends, your family about it. We really appreciate it. And as always, keep pitching out there, everybody.
In a game, the round ball, round posts, anything can happen.